this idea of just like extracting yourself from your day-to-day, going somewhere else for 2 days, 3 days, immersing yourself in that city, in wherever it might be, and just kind of like diving into something new, connecting with new people, trying new things physically, testing yourself. And what I have found, you don't realize it real time when you're inside of something like 29,029 or an HBLT. Cheesy as this may sound, I always feel like I come back like a better dude.
It does lend itself to this almost outside perspective of what's transpiring around you. And then when you're in it, you're just super present. You're in the moment. There's nothing going on outside of that world. Even though my family was there, my kids were there, I was like zoned out in the space. All of a sudden you get like sucked out of this time portal. It's like, and you're back into the real world. And then you get this opportunity to reflect on the experience. What is the takeaway from this? It really will lead you down these unknown rabbit holes, but they're always worth it. What's something that's on your bucket list? Think about it. Write it down. Put it on your vision board. It's important to have these different goals, aspirations, and feats that you're looking to accomplish in order to keep you disciplined and accountable and on a trajectory towards the best version of yourself. Something that's made its way onto my personal bucket list over the last couple of years is something called Everest 29029. Everest 29029 is climbing a ski slope a numerous amount of times until it equates to Mount Everest. Which brings me to this week's guest, Todd Cuccia. Todd is a head of trading at a New York City-based cross-assets hedge fund. He's a husband, he's a father of 4 boys, he's a very disciplined man, and he completed Everest 29029. We talked about being a dad and the balance between being a cool dad and a disciplined dad, the work-life balance along with fitness and health and the importance of taking care of yourself first, and of course, we talked about his adventure on Everest 29029. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Todd Cuccia. Enjoy.
What's up, guys? Todd Cuccia. Just wrapped up an episode with Vinny Brusco show. What a cool setting. What a cool host. What a cool experience. We had an awesome conversation. Can't wait to share with all you guys. Tune into this episode and the rest of the episodes this guy puts out. And appreciate you all.
And here we go.
I don't know when I started following you on Instagram, but you did something that's on my personal bucket list, which is Everest 29029.
Sure.
And then after that, I connected to you. I was like, I'd love to have you on, talk about, just life in general.
Totally.
Because you obviously put fitness and being a father on the top of your hierarchy of needs. And then once you achieve that, I was like, that's something that I've been wanting to do. That I think Greg Scheinman was the first person I came across who did it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to go after that. So what was that? What led you to kind of want to do Everest 29029?
Yeah, sure. Greg's the man, and funny enough, the event starts on a Thursday. I called Greg on Monday night, the 3 days leading up to it, and his advice in terms of like logistics and prep and gear prep and everything were all super helpful. But his other point was like every event's going to be different, every location is going to be different, the way in which every individual handles it. They've kind of like democratized what success looks like at 29029, which is kind of one of the coolest parts of their their offering, I guess I'd call it. I guess the crux of like, and kind of some of the why behind that particular event, the way I think about like a 12-month calendar is just putting, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 really hard things on the calendar every year that I can look forward to. And I usually start thinking about that. Funny enough, like here we are sitting here in the second week of December. I usually start thinking about that end of December, early January, certainly Q1 of whatever year we're in terms of putting things on my calendar that I can look forward to, that I can train for, that kind of keep me, fired up in terms of both the fitness and the mental edge that's needed to accomplish an event like that. 29029 popped up on my radar. I had a few friends who had done it before. There was something about 29029 that was so different from other events that I had done, specifically, marathons, triathlons, any endurance related events, where the thought process with 29029 was like, how can I get stuck in for 30 hours or up to 36 hours and stay patient? Obviously have the confidence with my fitness and my endurance, but stay patient with myself and be comfortable with myself to just put one foot in front of the other for a day and a half. And that was very different from anything I had done endurance wise, where I was married to a certain time on a half, or I wanted to run a certain time for a full marathon. And even the training blocks leading up to that, like that's a 4 or 5 month block where like you're running hard. This was different in the sense that like I threw on a 30-pound ruck and jumped in the leather stocking, trailer or the Saxon.
Yeah.
4 or 5 in the morning, and I put the backpack on and I just walked for like 2-3 hours with walking poles. And so from that standpoint, it was very different. And I quickly fell in love actually with that like modality of training, if you will. The event itself, maybe like fast forward to that Thursday night, there's a welcoming
You
night.
did it up in Vermont.
Yeah, I did in Vermont.
Yeah.
So big picture, there's 6 events, 6 mountains rather. There's only one on the East Coast where they host it, which is in Stratton, Vermont. It goes on pre-sale in December for the following year's event.
It's very sold out.
It sells out in I think it's like 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I had heard that the year that I signed up, and I was like, I kind of faded that thought. And then my brother-in-law was like, no, like it will sell out in 7 minutes. And sure enough, it did. So I was glad we grabbed our spot. You get there Thursday night. It's incredibly cool because inside of this room, and what I learned, Vinny, really quickly was they asked everyone in the room, hey, everybody raise your hand if you've run a marathon in here. And if you have not run a marathon in this room, raise your hand. And I would say 75, somewhere around 75, 80% of the people raised their hand that they had not run a marathon. Raise your hand in this room if you've never run a half marathon. And I'd say somewhere between 50 and 60%.
Whoa.
So I actually jokingly looked, there was a guy to my left and his son, an older gentleman and his son. And I looked at the guy on my left, not knowing whether or not this humor was going to land. And I was like, I might win this thing. I was like, dude, I might win this.
I might take this. I got this fucker.
And he was like, I'm pretty sure that's not there. That's not
It did not land well.
No,
yeah, all right.
His son laughed. So
Okay,
it landed for his son. But the point was, they have when I said that they democratize success earlier, what I mean is that they have basically, there are people that show up to 29 who are like, I'm going to get 10 laps, 10 of the 7. In the case of Stratton, it's 17 laps, which equals 29,029 feet, which is the equivalent of Everest. So obviously it's a different number of times up based on the location, based on the mountain.
Sure.
Whatever. At Stratton, it's 17 laps. There are people that go to Stratton who are like, I have to get 10 laps done. And if they get 11 laps done, it is the most epic outcome of all time.
I didn't think of that perspective.
They have democratized achievement, looks like, and it's brilliant, right? Like there are people, there's a different award for each different mountain that you've hit in terms of, or that you've reached in terms of ascending. So there's 7 different levels, so like every few climbs you're getting a different type of acknowledgement, if you will. Now listen, Stratton, if I was just to dive into my particular situation or experience rather, Stratton was really unique because it was literally not to sound overly dramatic, it was a 48-hour nor'easter. Like it was. Well,
you did go. I'm local with you.
Sure.
It was like rain, sleet, sideways rain, and you're up in Vermont, so I'm sure it's a slush factor, right?
Slush factor.
Yeah.
I mean, basically we lost the trail. Like the trail kind of became a mudslide. So you're kind of like solving for your own trail. To quantify all this, because I think that helps people who might be listening, is a typical finisher's rate for 29,029. Like from an offering perspective, you go on their website, you won't find this. So, but I think it's an interesting anecdote for people who are thinking about spending the money on it because the tickets aren't cheap. Is a typical finisher's rate for each event is about 60 to 65% of people will finish 29,029 feet, which is awesome. And it's a hell of an achievement, and it's a hell of a 2-day experience. At Stratton, it was just over 40%. It was 41%. So wow. 111 people of 260 people completed the task. And it was conditions. Everyone was cold. Everyone was wet. When I say it was raining for 2 days, I mean, like, it was the type of rain, Vin, where it was like loud on your jacket. Yeah. Yeah. Like it was like pouring on your shoulders. You're like, so it was a total gut check. And so listen, like big picture, I try to do stuff like that, a few times a year. I think it feeds into these other, walks of my life. There's something about live events. A good buddy of mine who lives 2 miles from here, Brian Mazza, has a live events company by the name of High Performance Lifestyle Training. Like I've gotten involved there. There's something about, kind of leaving your comfort zone is an overused term, but like there's something about leaving home base, going somewhere else, connecting with people that you may or may not know, and just diving face first into that experience for 2 or 3 days. That is very unlike signing up for a town 10K or a half marathon. There's no connectivity at the end of those races. You get an award, you get your bagel, and you kind of move on.
Love that bagel.
It's
the bagel's pretty damn good.
The bagel's epic. Maybe you eat 2 bagels, but I think it's
chocolate chip cookie,
maybe a couple free drinks.
Yeah.
But I think this idea of just like extracting yourself from your day to day, going somewhere else for 2 days, 3 days, immersing yourself in that city, in wherever it might be, in a Stratton or in an Austin or in a Miami, or I went to Denver in the spring, and just kind of like diving into something new, connecting with new people, trying new things physically, testing yourself. And what I have found these last, kind of handful of years is when you come home from an event like that, you don't realize it real time. When you're inside of something like 29029 or an HBLT, or you name the live event experience, Tough Mudder, stuff like that. Or not Tough Mudder. What's Joe DeSena's? He's got a live event business too. Anyway, along these lines of like really just getting out there and testing yourself for a couple of days. And when you're inside of that, it's impossible to process it. And then I think when you get home, you understand that there's all these takeaways and there's these transferable skill sets that you learned inside of those 48 hours. And I always just feel like I come back, like cheesy as this may sound, I always feel like I come back like a better dude.
Yeah, no question. I just competed in a jiu-jitsu tournament last week, and watching the video, and from a jiu-jitsu perspective, I saw all the opportunities that I missed, right? But leading up to it and walking away from it, it does lend itself to this almost outside perspective of what's transpiring around you. And then when you're in it, it's like you're just super present. You're in the moment. There's nothing going on outside of that world. Even though my family was there, my kids were there, as much as they were there, I was like zoned out in the space. And then once you get out of it, it's like all of a sudden you get like sucked out of this time portal, like, and you're back into the real world. And then you get this opportunity to reflect on the experience. And what did I take? What is the takeaway from this? And for me, the jiu-jitsu thing was, as cheesy as this may sound, is that the magic is real. Like life has a magical feeling to it. And if you're able to tap into that magic, it really will lead you down these unknown rabbit holes, but they're always worth it.
Yeah, totally.
The experience is always worth it.
Yeah, that's so well said. And the coolest part about that is that when people are inside of that experience, it's so highly individualized. What I have found often is, like, I took a gondola ride. This just like jumped into my mind. At one point, it was like 2:30 in the morning, and it was like, again, pouring, recurring theme here, pouring rain,
right?
Pouring rain. And I was on the gondola down, and like, I have no problem just flat out admitting this. I was on the gondola by myself with like a blanket over me, like a freezing cold. Like I've been on my feet for like, I don't know, 22 hours or something. And I started crying, like, and it was mostly an intense realization. And I have these every once in a while. And like, my wife would make fun of me because I'm almost like more emotional than she is. But I had this intense sense of gratitude where I was like, what the fuck? Like, I have this like way better looking than me wife who's like the coolest gal on the entire planet. We have 4 kids. Like, and I think to your point, you're forced to be removed from the day-to-day circumstances. And then all of a sudden I'm one foot in front of the other up this mountain for a day and a half. And then you just like take a step back. And it's like, it's not that before going to Stratton, I wasn't like grateful for what I had,
of course,
but all of a sudden you're in this dogfight with yourself, and you're like, brother, whatever happens here, like, life is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Like we're either way, like we're good. And I can't believe I've gotten to this place in life. And like, you and I can stretch on this in terms of what a definition of success looks like. But like moments like that to me are success. I'm like, wow, man, I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed.
Yeah.
And like, that's genuinely how I feel. And I felt that way the day before, and I certainly felt that way after. But during events like this, I have a really intense sense of gratitude around like the life, that we, Caitlin and I, have built.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Just so you know, I cry. Oh man, I dropped my kids off every morning, and it was between 8 to 9 o'clock. I cried 3 times. Like I am a crier. I'm so happy that I cry. My kids see me cry. It's the joke in the house, but I let it out, man. It's
the right guy.
100%. It's a beautiful thing. I was calling my mom on my way to work after I dropped off my son, and she's like, "What's going on? How are you?" I was like, "Yeah, cried 3 times." She's like, "It's not even 9 o'clock." I was like, "Yeah, I've cried." I dropped off my daughter, her walking to school with her oversized book bag.
Yeah. Then
I'm explaining a song to my son, and then watching him walk another little boy into school because he was having a tough time, the other kid. And I was just like, man, it really does put things back, because it's so easy, especially what you do and what I do, and just being a father and a provider and a husband and all of these other things. They force you to be almost calloused to the world, and to some degree, especially as a man, like we're almost forced to be calloused, and so many of our relationships are transactional. But when you're able to kind of step away from it and you develop this deeper relationship with yourself, you do get this like, whoa, like it blows you away at how beautiful life is. And you don't have to be a father to have that experience. You have to be a husband, but just to realize how wonderful the world really is, and you get to participate in these extreme activities.
Yeah. So I have two takeaways on that. And again, like really good thoughts from your end. Like one of them is that you have to put yourself in a position to feel that way. And I have found that like often putting myself into some form of like endurance related pain is usually how I tap into that. This goes a bunch of years back. Like I broke my foot when my wife was pregnant with our first. And I had this like when she was like 6 months pregnant, and I was, I wasn't like, I was in, decent shape, certainly not, good shape. My fitness was nowhere near, where I was going to eventually get it. And I had this like, right when I broke my foot, she's 6-7 months pregnant, I just dove face first into like Jocko and Goggins and like Finding Ultra with Rich Roll was like a transformative book for me. And I started listening to podcasts, and like I just the more I dove into that, I was left with this big like, what am I leaving on the table here? And then the more things I actually signed up for, and the more races that I started to participate in, it really just like I started to fully buying into this me versus me, and all of these benefits that I was able to extract from that. And then the second thought that kind of leads to, which you just made me think of in terms of your comments, was you have to, and like, you've probably heard me talk about this, but you have to serve yourself in order to serve the people that you care the most about. And I think that if I said that, if I verbalized it the way I just did like 2 years ago, I would be like trying to back my way into exactly how I think about that, how I live into it. And now I say that with 110% confidence, meaning like, if I don't serve myself in the morning, I will not serve my wife, my children, my employer, my friends, my community, some of the the 18 teams that I coach. Like, so now I'm so bought in on the fact that like, you have to, and I'm speaking to everyone, like you have to serve yourself in order to truly serve the people that you care the most about. And in order to do that, you have to define what serving yourself means. So when I talk about that, it's often my way of saying serving yourself doesn't have to mean like waking up like Vinny and Todd did at 5 a.m. and like getting a 10K in and taking a cold plunge. It may very well mean going downstairs and like writing, or going outside and walking, or drinking more water than usual, or like starting a podcast, whatever it might be. We all have these different ways in which we can like provide ourselves with natural energy. I have found that fitness is that catalyst, but my point is that other people should find what it is for them, because when you find out how to serve yourself and what gets you going, it's a really, really powerful tool to that's really transferable into all these other walks of life. Yesterday I had and then I'll zip it on this part, but I had a track workout with a buddy. Like I've run, I'm good for 25, 35 miles a week, something like that. I hadn't been in the track in a couple of months, and we went and just ripped a bunch of like 400s and 800s. And there was a certain like feedback loop on the back of that. And when I got home, like my older guys could have like punched me square in the face, and I would have like hugged them being like, dude, you're the man. Like there was just everything, your tolerance for the rest of your day and your wantingness to like kind of be elite, like in all these different walks of life, it all goes up. So like defining what serving yourself looks like I think is so key, because once you do, you can show up for all these people in your life. And like for moms and dads, I don't even just mean as like husbands and wives and fathers and mothers. I mean like in day-to-day life, as professionals and everything else.
Yeah. And so you post your runs, and I'm like, how do people run that fast? Because I've done pain to pain as well, and I'm like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour, I'm in that world of running. But I'm also okay with that. Like I set this goal, and I'm like, listen, whatever it is, it is. Like, yeah, would I love to finish under 2 hours? Sure. Yeah. Did I really prepare for it? No, I could do better. I could draw more out of it.
Sure.
But I think you bring up a great point in the sense that elevating yourself allows you, pouring from a full cup kind of thing, right? And we're not taught that in school, right? It's something that you kind of have to figure out on your own. And everybody's version of that varies, right? Like, again, you don't have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and go for a run and a plunge and all of those things. There is something to the physical that I think lends itself more so than almost anything else, because it's just, to your point, it raises my threshold of tolerance.
Totally.
I'm a different person if I don't do those 3 things in the morning. Now, if you add in journaling or you add in a podcast, now we're just overfilled. Now we're just flowing. But to start the day in a certain way really changes the whole trajectory of the day. I'm way more patient with my kids when I do all those things. I'm way kinder to the people I work with, or to my wife, or to I have a higher level of tolerance. And it may be because I put myself through difficult things. I'm not sure, but it seems to be that that's the math that plays out. If I go to jujitsu at 6 a.m, I'm like, the rest of there's nothing that's going to be harder than men trying to kill me for 45 minutes. Like, no one's trying to kill me for the rest of the day. I'm good. Right? That's not happening. So you're absolutely right and that's the best way to serve other people. It 100% is.
That's and like, I think the other takeaway for anyone listening would be that it could take time to figure that out, you know, in terms of what that feedback looks like, but you won't know until you try a bunch of stuff. Like, so go try a bunch of stuff and see what the good windows of time are. Like, you and I can say this like confidently, you know, even in the short time we've known each other, but like, we're kind of like 4 to 6 a.m. guys, because that sets the stage for the rest of our day. And that's not the Monday through Friday thing. That's like a 7-day-a-week type thing. But to your point, like, I don't have guys trying to kill me at 6 a.m, but like, if I'm in Central Park running, I'm exclusively chasing, and I talk about this a decent amount with friends of mine, like, well, how do you get it? I mean, you get up at 4:45, you're on a 5:10 train or a 5:30 train. Like, how do you do that every day? And I'm really exclusively chasing the feeling after. So like, when I lay my stuff out the night before, I'm actually subconsciously thinking about, when I get out of that shower in Midtown and like go to grab my coffee, how I'm just going to be on autopilot for like the next handful of hours. And I feel like I have to be operating at that level in order to compete with the people in my office. You know, like, everyone on our trading floor is, I would just say, like, and I'm half making fun of myself, but half being dead serious, is significantly smarter than I am.
Right.
So like I'm the only non-Ivy educated person on our floor. And like, I wear that, you know, chip on my shoulder proudly. And you know, everyone has a different path to success. But like, if I need a competitive edge there, you know, and so I use that morning window to really like jumpstart my day. And then when I get out of the shower and I get my food and I get some caffeine in, and like, then it's like, all right, well, like, now it's go time. And like, you know, no one's going to pass me now. Like, now I got this. Cause to your point, like, again, you're getting you're getting popped in the face, and I'm trying to run a certain time around the park or whatever it might, or lifting weights, whatever. But when that's done, it's like, I'm playing with house money now. Let's roll. You know, and that's how I think about, you know, kind of igniting the day, if you will.
I really like the idea of setting up, you know, because I'm hit or miss with that for it. Like, the alarm will go off some mornings, I'm like, not today, buddy. And I think that's really tough waters to navigate, because it can be like, hey, I just need to get some rest in. Like, I need to sleep, right? And then there's the other side of it. It's like, how extreme are you willing to go? How far are you willing to go? Do you really? And I'll lay in bed and I'll have that conversation with myself for 15 minutes. And it's like, you're wasting so much time right now. Just get out of bed. But it is an internal, you know, battle with yourself. And it really, and I think once you come to the realization that that's just always how it's going to be, like, you kind of have to just relinquish the idea that it's not going to be that. Like, give up on that idea. It's always going to be a battle. And whether you're on a gondola line crying, or you're walking up a mountain, or you're running a trail, or it's your own internal battle, it's always going to be that. So once you kind of relinquish to that, now it's about, you know, listening to the voices in your head and developing a harmonious relationship between both of them, because there's going to be the one that says sleep, and there's going to be the one that says get the fuck up. And it's not listening to either one. It's weird. It's a weird relationship you have with yourself.
The timing of you just saying that is nuts, because I took speaking of early train, so I haven't worn like business clothes on a train in like 6 years or something. Like, I wear running shorts, a hoodie just like this one, and running sneakers on the train every day. I carry my work clothes with me, and I change after I work out, whatever. There's a buddy of mine who, like, for the better part of a decade or whatever, I'm like on the train with him most days or whatever. and he wasn't, and same deal. He's usually in his workout clothes, but he's already gotten a workout. He's already gotten a sweat in. And and then he gets on the train, and then he showers in the city, goes to the office, whatever. I've known him since we were kids. And anyway, 3 days ago, and it's just like super timely that you brought this up, but he was in work clothes, and it like threw me off. He looked like a different human. I was 5 something. I'm like,
is that you?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that scene in Pan. There you are, Peter.
Exactly right. It was like and it's a dark platform at 5 in the morning, so I was like, Mike. So anyway, I bring this up because when we got off the train, he said how it was one of those mornings where it was like a 1 in 100 where he just knew he needed the extra 45 to 60 minutes sleep. And it was kind of like, it wasn't a light bulb moment for me, but it's something I've been thinking a lot about for the last like year or so. So you and I are both 39 years old.
Yep.
So there's a fine line between like, don't listen to that side of the brain. Like fuck it, just get up and move. There's a fine line between that, and I've been getting after it pretty good the last X number of days. I actually could use like an extra 45 to 60 to 75 minutes of a proper recovery.
Right.
I'll still get up and get some steps in. Like he was still going to, get on the train, walk across town, get some movement in, whatever. Maybe he's doing some stretching during the day, whatever. But the point is understanding the difference between like how to use that lever, I guess is the point. And like if you and I were like 5 years ago, we're probably singing a different tune where we're probably like going down like the Goggins route of like,
sure.
So now I think it's really understanding like what lights you up, what provides you with really good energy, but also just understanding how and where to pick your spots.
Yeah.
There might be 1 day a week, or maybe it's one every couple of weeks, or whatever, where you just like, it's a very conscious, like, oh dude, I'm sleeping in, I need some extra time. Instead of running at 6, I'm going to, hey, Caitlin, I'm going to run at this time later in the day, whatever it is. So understanding how to, bob and weave and everyone knows their bodies best, like, and if you don't, like, now we've got a million different tools to to give you feedback loops in terms of wearables and stuff. But like people, I think understanding how to take care of their body best is an equally important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. But it's tough though, because I wrestle with the idea of like, yeah, but that's still being a bitch.
Yeah.
Like I wrestle with that.
I'll tell him you said that.
No, listen, I sleep in more than I probably should, but I wrestle with that because I'm like, yeah, but
I know
if you want to get to that level,
mm-hmm.
you want to get there, it's not going to be this way. Like, that. So for me, it's always a battle. It's always the battle, unless it comes to certain things, like to your point where like, I know, like I never struggle to get out of bed to go to jiu-jitsu ever. It just doesn't happen. If I have to go in my garage and run in my treadmill, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. But I think it's finding those things that you want to do, and then knowing the things that you have to. Like I can't do jiu-jitsu every day, just not in my schedule. Just can't do it.
Sure.
Would I love to? Absolutely. But then it's like, well, what's the other thing that I'm going to be able to do today at some point?
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes, it has to be at 9 o'clock at night when I'm home, and after I put the kids down, I fall asleep in their room, and I'm like, fuck, it's 9:30.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this, but you didn't get your workout in. And sometimes I just succumb to the idea that's just not going to happen today.
Yeah.
Which I don't love, but it is what it is, and I think that there's strength in getting through a day that wasn't optimal.
Yeah.
Right. Because not every day is going to be this perfect aligned day of, all right, well, I got my, and I think that's the kind of trap of social media is it's like, well, I woke up at 4 and I did my routine and I journaled and I meditated and I did my plunge and all these wonderful things where like some morning just like, motherfucker, I don't want to do any of this shit right now.
I've enjoyed some of like the meme videos that are like actually making fun of the morning routine.
Oh yeah.
Like,
they're great.
They're awesome. And like my high school grad sends a lot of those to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, I hope this is not how I come across. But anyway, they're really funny videos. What you just said is spot on. I think like trying to operate somewhere in the middle of that is really healthy. If you have a certain way you think about your routine and you don't hit every single piece of that, if that really throws off, if that has the ability to derail your day,
right, then
you have to kind of evaluate your routine. Your routine might be too like tightly strung, I guess would be my point. So I think it's like, the way I think about routine is just you come up with your routine, you come up with your non-negotiables. Like for you and I think putting our stuff out the night before, getting ready for the next morning or whatever is part of those non-negotiables. If there are parts of your routine that don't click on a certain day, not beating yourself up over that is huge. The difference between not beating yourself up and not executing though is very different. Like I think you have to get like this is going to come across as a little bit of like patting ourselves on the back, and I don't want it to, but you have to get to a certain level before you can not beat yourself up.
1,000%.
Right. Like and that level means like you've gotten yourself to a certain place where like, okay, now you're in a good spot in terms of what your systems look like. And if you're not batting 1,000, that's okay. But like you better bat pretty damn close to that. Because I think people setting up their process and their system is what allows them to achieve a certain level of success. Again, success can mean a million different things. But like I'm really glad you brought that up, and I'm glad that we're the age that we are, because if we're recording this a bunch of years ago, I had this like kind of no room for error mentality, and like that's such a slippery slope, because if you do miss something or if you do have a shitty workout, you're like, oh dude, what a bummer. Now if I have a shitty workout, I'm like, dude, I was there, like I showed up.
It's a small win. When I was very active in CrossFit, I was doing CrossFit like 5-6 days a week, and I was at the 5 a.m. class because again, that's what was allotted to my window. There actually wasn't even a class. I would just go to the CrossFit. They were gracious enough to like, here's the key. They would open up, and I would just go before the class started. If I missed that, the conversation I had with myself was horrible.
Dark.
Like it was so dark.
Yeah.
It was like, you fucking lazy piece of shit. Like that was the conversation. And I was like, I wouldn't even talk to any of my friends like this.
Yeah.
Like I'd be the worst friend ever if I spoke to but I would be okay with just having that conversation with myself and be like, you lazy motherfucker. And I was in good shape.
Yeah.
I was doing fine.
I believe it.
But I missed one day and I was like, you late. Now I miss it. I'm like, all right.
Totally.
I missed it.
Totally.
Where can I pick it up somewhere? Where can I go home and just do a quick 20-minute ruck walk on the treadmill? Yeah. Can I get a jujitsu class in? Or is it just, it is what it is today?
Yeah. And if it is what it is, like I have these, as I call them, like bounce back days.
Yeah.
The bounce back days are huge. I love a good bounce back day. Like even if we're out, like December is jam packed, like way more than usual for me in terms of out and about with work stuff or social stuff on weekends or whatever. So there are some days where like a workout may not make sense or whatever. But like, let's say you're out late one night. This is a made up scenario. You're out late one night. The next day just doesn't make sense. And you got plenty of stuff going on either on the work front or the home front, whatever. That next morning, so like the 2 days out from whatever the event is, that's a huge morning.
Yeah.
I love those mornings.
You're fired up.
You're like, I'm getting this shit back. Like I get this train back on the track. And like, I really enjoy those bounce back days. And there's certain, like, I would just call them almost like muscular endurance days where like, I'll just beat myself up for like 5 to 6, 7 rounds, something like that on like a ski erg and box jumps and kettlebell swings and farmer's carries, just little things to get my heart rate elevated, get my body moving, and like, or obviously a run. But those bounce back days where you're like, shit, yeah, all right, we're back. Those days are huge. And they're also part of like let's not beat ourselves up for more than like 24 hours, and like give yourself a window to go out there and enjoy yourself and live your life.
Yeah.
But stay focused and stay dialed in on your processing.
Yeah. I'll miss 2 days. That'll happen. I'll miss 2 days in a row in like a more rigorous workout. Maybe I'll get something in, but I'll miss like 2 days. And that day, that third or that bounce back day, as you put it, is just like, whoo,
yeah,
we're going now.
Yeah, it's the best.
Like whatever it is, like it's usually I'll miss like maybe a Thursday, Friday, which I hate doing. But then if I go Saturday morning jujitsu at like 6 a.m., it's just like,
yeah,
all right, we're good.
Yeah.
Like and the clarity you like. I cannot miss 2 days. Like if I miss 2 days, like there's no way I'm missing 3. No. Like that's not happening anymore. Whereas before the beat myself up CrossFit days, you miss 2 days, you miss 3. You're like, all right, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, we're not going that far out. Like it just can't happen.
Totally.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vinny Brusco Show podcast. I hope you've been enjoying the show so far. If you have been, do me a favor. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you get it. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and right here on YouTube. Click the notification button, leave a little comment, subscribe to the channel, and of course, spread the word and tell a friend. Thank you very much. As a father of 4 boys.
Yeah.
4 boys.
Yeah.
I have my daughter's 8, my son is 4. Boys are very different. Girls, and my daughter does jiu-jitsu, she's a badass. But boys are different.
Yeah.
How's a 4 boys? That's gotta be wild, dude.
It's wild.
Like you have a basketball team in your house.
Yeah. No, yeah. It is like, I mean, dude, this is why we're recording this podcast at 6 a.m. Like you and I were like passing ships in the night and trying to lock down a date. I was like, that's when I threw it out there. I'm like, can we do like 6 in the morning on like a Sunday? Listen, our house is full contact. It is high energy. We don't have a calm guy. Is the way I always word it.
Yeah.
Like, and I know I'm speaking for like a 3-month-old. But like he's trending towards a non-com guy. If I just look at the history
through osmosis alone, right?
Statistically speaking,
based off the energy in the household,
yes,
he's gonna be an animal.
What I would say is, and I actually like almost get the chills when I even like think about saying this, is when our house is like at its loudest and craziest and most chaotic, I like just like genuinely feel the most comfortable.
Wow.
Like. And maybe my wife would, she
would have a very different response to that.
She would feel slightly different, but like, I just, when our house is humming, it's like, man, this is awesome. Like, and like,
what's your definition of humming?
Like, just bodies flying everywhere. Like, my youngest guy, the 3-year-old in like changing into a different costume every 5 minutes. The oldest guy like throwing something at the 6-year-old. The 6-year-old asking ridiculous questions to Caitlin.
Right.
Like the baby crying in the background. Someone asked me to wipe their butt. Like someone shooting a puck and breaking a window after all of that. Like it's action packed. Actually, we broke a quick anecdote here. We broke a window in the living room the other night.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah,
good.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
So we were throwing footballs, and so I'm throwing football. The 8 and the 6-year-old are just like playing one-on-one, and I throw a ball. Actually, my 6-year-old ran a nice little like up and out.
Right.
I throw him the ball. It goes elbow first through the window. I heard my wife's footsteps coming into the living room, and I froze.
Were you like one of the kids? Like, Mom's coming.
No, dude, 100%.
Right.
Like I
coming.
froze in my track, and I swear I had this like moment where I was like, oh my, I felt like a kid. I was like she was like, are you guys fucking kidding me? Not, she didn't.
She could have. It's fine. My kids have seen horrible things.
Me? And I looked right at her, and it was the first time I've ever looked at her like almost like a mom. And I'm and I threw the ball like it was his elbow, but like I threw the ball. So to a certain extent, like Caitlin is
a saint.
Like 5 boys. Yeah, she is a saint.
Yeah.
But it was funny when Caitlin, the last one other thing I would say is like when Caitlin told me that she was pregnant with 4, it was more overwhelming for me to process her being pregnant with 4 than us actually living and operating right now with 4.
Sure, makes sense.
Like our day-to-day right now is just like Teddy is our youngest guy. It's Charlie, Freddie, Tommy, and Teddy, and Teddy is just like in it. Like he's just like in the mix. When she told me that we were pregnant with 4, I had this like frankly like multi-week period where I was trying to digest if I was gonna what that dynamic was going to look like, and whether or not I was going to lose connectivity with any of the 3 boys or even Caitlin. And
sure.
I had this like I couldn't help but wonder if I was going to like lose my grip on like what this really intensely or special bond that we had in the house. And I worked my way through that, and it's like funny even looking back at that now, because now like with Teddy I'm like how would this guy not even be here? Like this is epic.
It's a weird thing. And only having 2 and the girl and the boy, it's a different relationship with each one of them. But the beautiful thing, and because again, the kids come up with you love this one more and you like that one more, especially with the girls.
Sure.
I explained to them like the beautiful thing about love is it's endless. Like it's not like there's this finite amount that you could feel.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm out of love now. Can't love you anymore.
Yeah.
It's especially for me with the kids and with the wife, like it is this well that is so deep that I'll never experience the bottom of it, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But once you get like kind of tapped into that, you're able to kind of then navigate the relationship from a healthier place, right?
Yeah.
Because again, having the girl and the boy, it's a very different dynamic. And having a boy, and I say this all the time to my wife and to my daughter, I'm like, because he went through the biting stage, right? Where my daughter would like do something, and he was like, oh, I'm going to bite you now.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, bite. I said, listen, he is untapped testosterone.
Yeah,
He
totally.
has no filter.
Yeah.
He has no filter.
Yeah.
So you trying to keep him refined and not expect him to bite you
Yeah.
is kind of your fault. Like you're poking the bear and you're expecting the bear not to act like a bear.
Yeah.
He's an animal.
Yeah.
Right. He's a pure animal.
Yeah.
And again, coming from like a societal expectation, you don't want them biting other kids. Thank God he never has.
Yeah.
But it's like you want to kind of curtail that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you want to harness them, but like use that as fuel because you need that moving forward. But again, culture and society and snowplow parenting and all of these things kind of make us kind of rein that back a little bit.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how you navigate 4 unfiltered boys.
I mean, it's interesting because I feel differently about it right now than I had before Teddy was born. So I guess what I mean by that is there was a family friend of ours in town who's probably 10 or 15 years my senior, meaning his kids are like wrapping up high school, in college, or just out of college now, who has 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up to me. This is actually a conversation that will like always kind of stick out to me because I can't believe how true it ended up being. And he said, what's really gonna surprise you is how much your oldest one or even your oldest 2 are like additive to the process and how much they kind of like jump into the trenches with you and mom. And I kind of thought it was like a feel good anecdote, like best of luck out there.
Yeah.
Like I actually remember laughing when he said it, being like, totally, dude. Like I'm all over it. Like I'm sure the 8-year-old would be super helpful. And here I am, whatever, like 4 or 5 months later. I view Vinny, honestly, my 8 and 6-year-old right now. I never want to fast forward time ever. But I almost view my 8 and 6-year-old as like 15 and 13 now in terms of like just how they appear to me inside of the house. Like my 8-year-old is like part of the leadership team. Like he's in the mix.
Sorry, guys, this is a game plan.
Like I just feel like we had been home from the hospital with the youngest guy for 1 week, and I just looked at the older 2 totally different.
Wow.
Like I just felt like they had a different perspective on the family dynamic and like the oldest guy,
roles that they have to now take on.
Totally. And it was a very powerful realization. And I've had some like I use the word again, like powerful conversations with the top dog, with the oldest guy around like, and I try not to do this too often because I don't want to dilute it, but like every once in a while, right before bed, I'll be like, dude, I'm so damn proud of you. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
Just the way in which you're handling yourself around this house. Like one thing that really sticks out to me, we've been home, 2-3 weeks with Teddy at this point, and I'll never forget. I came in from a run and I heard the water running upstairs, like a shower. And I yelled out Caitlin's name a couple of times, nothing. And I heard TVs playing in like 2 separate rooms or whatever. And I'm like, oh God. And so then I did the math on that. And I realized Caitlin was in the shower, and I tiptoed my way into the family room, and my 8 and 6-year-old, my 8-year-old was pouring his own cereal, and the 6-year-old was sitting on the couch, like rocking the baby. And I was like, and by the way, anyone listening, don't judge us for leaving a newborn with a 6-year-old. But like, it was one of these aha moments where I'm like, oh, these guys are in it.
Yeah.
They're in it with us. Like they are additive. Like they are in the mix with us. And it was this really, really proud moment. And like, again, I say that now to the 8-year-old, but I'll say that to them for the rest of their lives. Like they're such an important piece of the puzzle in terms of like just holding down that family dynamic. But like, I'm so proud of them, man. Like they're sweet kids. They are, again, not calm kids. Like we are, it's full energy, but like they're good boys. And I don't know, I could talk for hours about being a dad. It's the coolest job on the entire planet. I've deprioritized so many other things because of the way in which I want to show up as a dad. And it means more to me than frankly anything else. I do use, like going back to the workouts, like I use the fitness as a catalyst, but it's really as a catalyst to be like the best husband I can be and the best dad. And that's not like a punchline. It's like I live that shit. It means so much to me,
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And a buddy of mine has 4, and he has 2 older girls and then 2 younger boys. So it's 2 and 2. And the 2 older girls definitely are, they're like little moms. And even with the one having just the 2, I feel so I'm like, just the 2. Like, is that enough? Do I have enough kids right now? Like, babe.
By the way, I was going to tell you to send your son like if he's in a biting, or now it's
Yeah, no, he's over that now.
I was gonna say whatever stage he's in, just set him over to the Cuccia house.
Yeah.
Like, we have families in town where it's like a boy and 2 girls, or an only child, or whatever. Like if it's just a boy in that house, often they'll be like, "What are you guys doing this afternoon?" Like, can we like,
Hey, give you one more?
I was gonna say, can we either grab 2 of yours or drop my guy at your house? And basically, it's their way of saying, like, can we just like inject him into your madness for like a day, half a day?
It's healthy though. Like like, and again, like culture and society and school, whatever you want to like frame it as, the boys specifically, and it's even, listen, it's hard for girls, for them to sit in school all day long. Like, they need an output of that energy. Like, that energy is sitting and bottling and bottling and bottling and bottling. It's like a rocket just waiting to blast off.
Totally.
But to the point where, the older 2 in my buddy's family, they do take on that role. But having the 2 children, my daughter, I actually just sent my wife a video the other day of when my son was 4 months, maybe something like that. And my daughter's just like singing to him and rocking him, and in that motherly space.
Yeah.
And I think that having that older one kind of step in that role is it's awesome to watch, man. It's just like, no matter however you want to like philosophize on and pontificate and break it down, it's just amazing to watch the relationship develop. And being a dad, and I think this is one of the cooler things about being a dad, is that you're on the outside watching these lives unfold, and then it brings you into this like parallel of your own life, and you get to, and I've spoken about this a ton of times, but you get to like revisit life all over again, like all over again. And just watching the awe and the wonder that they approach life with, and, seeing the world through their eyes and watching them observe it. Even the questions, like my daughter, who she's 8, she asked me the other day, she's like, "So Dad, when you die and you go to heaven, like, does your body go to heaven, or does like your spirit go to heaven?" And I was like, "Well, what do you think?"
Yeah.
She's like, "I think your spirit, but I don't like that idea." I was like, "Yeah, that's a tough one." Right. But like, to see,
it's so insightful.
To see like the wheels turning, and to see them starting to understand life in this other way is beautiful, but it's also kind of sad, because you see the magic kind of getting sucked out of their bodies.
Yeah, no, it's funny, like when the guy who's 3 now, or just turned 4, I remember changing his diaper like 18 months ago or 2 years ago, and his feet, I looked down at his feet and they like just looked big to me. And I remember being like, Kate, like, we got to keep going. Like, this guy's getting big, And I think part of that, honestly, was that like, I just don't, like, there are parts of for all of us where like we think about like the kids being older and what that dynamic will look like as parents and stuff, and that's also going to be epic. But like, there's something about this stage, like, buddy of mine, I saw this, I think it was either on Twitter or social of some sort, where it was like we're all living, and I'm saying this for like a lot of me and your cohort, like, we are living in the good old days right now.
Yeah.
And like, I refuse to take that for granted, and that's why I'm like trying my best to be as involved as I can in the day to day and the weekends and stuff. Like, I was on like the Wall Street hamster wheel out 3-4 nights a week for like years and years and years. And like, maybe this would have happened anyway, but in a post-COVID world, I completely removed all the dinners and everything from my calendar. I've replaced all of that with breakfast and lunch meetings and whatever. And it was really, honestly, Vinny, that I just don't want to miss anything. Yeah. Like, and it's because of conversations like that. I feel the same way with my 8-year-old. I'm like, dude, you do the math on it. You're like, okay, like, talking about freshman year of high school in like 5 years, and then they're not going to want to hang with us when they're in high school. Like,
no,
I mean, maybe
hopefully they do.
I was going to say maybe to a certain extent they will, but like, they'll have their own homies, right? Like, so it's like, we're in this amazing stage, right, where like, you're getting questions like that, and you're like able to watch them, kind of develop in the way they are, but like, you're still such a massive piece of their puzzle. It's like, it's such a special time.
Yeah, and she'll throw it back in my face because she's clever, and I'll tuck her in. I'm like, all right, this is a quick tuck in night, and she's like, "You're gonna want these days one day. Like, you're gonna miss this one day." I'm like, "God damn it! All right, I'll lay down." Like, I'm just like, quick tuck in, let's go. And she's like, "You're gonna miss this one day." I'm like, "You're right," but it's important to have her keep me grounded in that, right? Because in those quick tuck-ins, it's never about them.
Yeah.
It's about me, right? Like, Dad needs to go do something, right?
Yeah.
Dad needs to go take a shower. Dad's tired. Dad worked all day. Dad wants to go to bed.
Totally.
But she'll pull me right back in and be like, you're going to miss this one day, man.
Mhm.
Like, you're going to miss this. So yeah,
That's amazing.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Leave the room quickly.
Yeah.
But it's so important to have her reel me back in sometimes, just to
That's incredible that
shake
she
it.
says that.
Oh,
dude.
she'll throw it right in my face.
Yeah, like
Right in my
that's
face.
so good.
Right in my
And
face.
by the way, like just throwing this out there, because I'm like that I have a healthy dose of like jealousy when you just said that.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to be on the record here. I've wanted a girl the whole time.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Like I grew up with all sisters, and my wife was one of two sisters, like, you know, and so the boys are epic. It's the best blessing in the entire world. But like, it's so funny. Like my wife, I remember we've been dating forever. Like we were dating when we were kids, and I always just pictured like me and Katie and like 2 or 3 like beautiful little girls, you know. But yeah, it's so funny. Like my boys do not say that when I tuck them in or whatever. It's more like, you know, nut taps and like head.
Yeah, of course. Naturally. Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, having a girl, it's a different relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not different better, it's just different, right?
Yeah.
It goes back to that point of like love being this endless well, not to sound too cheesy, but it really is this endless well that just can go on forever. But it is it's a different kind of thing. I knew we were having a girl from the minute. Like I was like, yep, we're having a girl. Like all in, pot committed. We are all in on a girl. That's I knew it. And it is a different thing. Energetically it's different, but it's just it's great either way. You know, I mean, having the boys good, man. The boys fun though, man. He's again, he grounds you in a different way. Yeah. You know, he kind of makes you tap into a different part of your patience level. And you know, it's funny because, and I'm sure you know this very well, there's nothing that being a parent really rounds out a life experience, right? And it's not for everybody. I get that, and I subscribe to that newsletter. But for me personally, it rounds out the full life experience. And there's nothing that you will love more, but will make you want to fucking break something. Like at that tuck in where you're like, I love you, good night, and you get a random fucking elbow to the nose, and it's like, I could smash your face with a kiss right now. Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, 100%.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No,
like,
totally.
There's nothing that will, I do morning drop off. There's nothing that will test your patience, like trying to get 2 kids ready for school in the morning, in the car.
No, it's insanity.
You're doing sports and all this shit. There's nothing. Get in the car. Like there's nothing. Then it's amazing how quickly that can turn to just like the love. Right? It's so wild.
I know, it is wild. I always say to the boys that like if I've said get in the car, get your shoes on, get your gear on, get your equipment on, if I've said it like 5 or 6 times, I'll literally say to them now, I'll say it to them the same way I would almost like say it to you. I'll be like, dude, you're making me feel incredibly annoying. Like now I'm going to raise.
That's a good way to point it.
I don't want to ask you for the 7th. This is absurd. Now I'm asking you for the 7th time. Like, go get your gear on. You have a game in 25 minutes and the rink is 22 minutes away.
Right.
Let's go. So that part is, but then like when we get in the car and like the music's blasting, I'm like, all right,
we're good.
Like it's so, you're so right. It ebbs and flows so aggressive.
Like in moment to moment. But that's a good way to put it. You're making me feel really annoying. Yeah, I like that
because our house is like my dad's pretty old school.
Yeah,
he's the man, and I could record a separate podcast on him. He's like my mentor, my hero, my best friend. Like the list goes on. But he's grew up, you know, in Queens with like a blue collar background.
Sure,
and I was raised like that. Like he used to make fun of me for like being soft for being a Larchmont kid. I'm like, dude, you raised me here.
Right. It's your fault, motherfucker.
Yes. But he was raised differently, just to put it frank. And I always think about like I think he took a pretty hard line on like, I'm not your friend, I'm your dad.
Sure.
And I think about that a decent amount where I'm like, I actually don't know that I want to take that hard of a line. Like my dad and I, like our relationship when I was in high school relative to our relationship 10 years later was like 2 entirely different relationships.
Sure.
In the sense that it was like all I wanted to do was just like make him happy, not have him be mad at me, like not mess things up.
Yeah.
Versus like 25, he's like literally, like we're talking about everything under the sun. He's like my best friend. Yeah. But I was like so scared to disappoint him as a kid.
Sure.
So part of me as a father is kind of like, can I thread that needle on like these guys being my best friends, but also respecting, like the rules inside of these four walls and the way we want to roll inside of this house. So I try to like live in between that. I also think there's a generational thing with that. Like I think that our generation has a little bit of a different approach, broadly speaking.
Yeah.
I say that knowing it's like so highly individualized.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
But like, I want to be the boys. I want to be like their homie, but I also want them to respect like what we have going on in our house. I want them to respect their mother and I and the rules, and like, you know, I want them to carry themselves in a certain manner. But I don't want to do that in like a bam, 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 bam. Like that's when I say like, you're making me feel annoying. I'm like, I'm trending towards like the drill sergeant dad. And I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
Like,
well, there's this, I often will just say, I'm getting to that point.
Yeah.
And it's the old, right? If you can name
it. Disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's the old, if you can name it, you could tame it. Right. So I'll say like, guys, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Like we're getting to that threshold. You don't like me when I go over there. So let's not get there. Right. But yeah, I like the idea of saying like, I'm becoming annoying. But it is a different relationship. And I've done like the reverse engineering of both my parents and how they had to show up in the world based off of who their parents were.
Exactly.
And that's a really important kind of thing to do for your own life, because it then puts you in a position where you can now navigate how you want to show up as a dad, not based on how you were treated as a son, right? It gives you permission to say, I'm going to show up as a dad in this way. I'm going to be cool. We're going to listen to, whatever in the car, and we're going to rock it, and we're going to be buddies. But at the same time, I'm still going to be your dad. But I think that's an important thing to decipher, because in that relationship, they have to understand that they can, and everyone's approach is different, but they have to understand that they can come to you at things like creating that relationship, is super, especially in the way the world is now, right? The way like with bullying and all this bullshit, it's important to create that foundation of friendship. Right. Because if you're just dad, they might be afraid to come to you and be afraid they're going to disappoint you because they're going through something, So I always communicate to my daughter, you can come to me about anything. Right. My son, what did he do the other day? He did something. Oh, I was like, did you do that? He's like, no. Oh, he drew on the wall. He drew crayons on the wall. I'm like, did you do that? Nope. I'm like, who did it?
Wasn't me.
I was like, I was at work. Mommy's not home. I was like, who did it? I was like, it wasn't Emma. I don't know. Really? So then I found another one. I'm like, did you do it? No. I'm like, all right. I said, listen, I don't know if you did it or you didn't do it. I said, but if you did it, I'd rather you tell me.
You're
not going to get in trouble for telling me the truth. But we don't run the wall. And then he goes, yeah, I did. I was like, yeah, I know you did it. All right. But you're not in trouble for writing the wall. I'm more upset that you didn't tell me out of the jump. But you're not going to get in trouble for telling me the truth. Just tell me. You're good. And I think creating that conversation, that relationship is so important as a dad, especially the way the world is now.
No, it's spot on. I always I think about some of the interactions and the dialogue with each kid being slightly different. But like, I want each of them to feel that same level of comfort in coming to me for absolutely anything. Like I'm a 39-year-old man. I call my dad every day. So I always just try and when I do think about, the 10, 20, 30 years out from now, I want to establish a relationship with them right now such that they're calling me literally every day just to catch up. I mean, I'll call my dad with zero agenda.
Right.
Just to BS. There's this, I forget if it was from the Daily Dad or it was maybe something from Ryan Hall, something about just having a crowded table when you get older, it's I just want them to come back, home and hang with us or whatever. So it's that fine line, I think the punchline here, what you and I are talking about is it's that fine line of you just want this to be such an epic home experience, but you also want there to be order and structure and discipline attached to that. So I think all of us as young parents, the kids are both of our kids, me and you are all getting older or whatever, but I think it's trying to establish, this line between the two. And I think the generation before us, again, not painting a broad brush here, but I think it was kind of it was a bit more binary, it was a little bit more of we're your parents, not your friends. I think our generation's trying our best to figure out how we can sort of kind of thread that needle. That's how I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And kids need that, right? Kids need that sandbox to play in,
Yeah.
right? If you just left them out in the desert, forget it, right? My son would be biting everybody. But
Yeah.
they need that sandbox to operate in, because they do need rules, regulations just to function in society, and it's just good for them overall.
Totally.
But again, you have to allow them to play in that sandbox, right? Like, you know, it's so hard, especially, you know, my wife's a teacher, I'm working, they come home, you know, they're in school all day, and I forgot where I saw it, but it was like this, like, kids come home and like they're just right.
Yeah.
But they should be able to.
Yeah.
And if they come home and they're just it's a sign of a good home in a sense, because they're in a space where they feel that they could just shed all the shit that they went throughout the day and just let it go.
Yeah.
You know, like let out that big sigh that we all sometimes feel when we get on that couch at, you know, whatever time to watch, you know, Survivor.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, all right, kids need that too.
Yeah.
You know, and it goes to your point of like, you know, what is the definition of success, right? Like success could be financial, it could be a certain physique, it could be all these different things. But I think that as parents and as guys who are seeking a higher level of experience in life, yes, it's about a certain amount of financial security. Yes, it's about a certain amount of freedom. Yes, it's about a certain aesthetic, which represents like an internal state for sure, right? You want to look good, but only because it's a billboard of how you feel inside, right? Yeah. But there's also a level of success within the household that, to your point, it's, I want my kids to come back home and want to hang with me. Yeah. I want my kids to call me on the phone on a random day and be like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Let's get a cup of coffee, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's another level of success that, you know, unfortunately we're seeing get diluted through society in some regards, you know, the nuclear family system. And I understand it doesn't work for everybody. I understand everything lines up perfectly, but it does start with just cultivating the relationship with yourself.
Yes.
Right. And then allowing that to express itself through your children and with your children.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, and just harping on the success, you know, part for a second. I think that like I've attempted in my own life to just kind of redefine what success looks like. And that's not at the cost of quote unquote, like I would just say traditional or professional success. In fact, I'm trying to like ramp up what that looks like.
Yeah.
That feels like
Makes
professionally,
sense.
But I'm trying to redefine like the way in which I go about that. Meaning like, I don't look at is just my role is to get on a train, go into the city, get a bunch of bread, come back home, you know, like put food on the table and like go back in the city the next day and do the same thing. Like that feels like, even when I just say it like, it just like feels so antiquated. Like
you say, I'm just like, oh God, it sounds exhausting.
Awful.
Yeah. Hey guys, just want to take a quick break from the podcast to talk about something I'm super passionate about, and that is men's mental health. For those of you who may not know, I am a certified life coach, but I prefer the term journeyman for hire. And 4 years ago, I started the Council of Dudes, a men's group that has monthly meetings to lean on each other, to have open and honest conversations, to build community. So if you're a guy and you're looking to find like-minded individuals to help you see your blind spots and point out some insights and perspectives they may have in their own life, head on over to vinnybrusco.com, click the Council of Dudes banner, and sign up and join the council.
Like there is nothing worse, Vinny, like in my world than like popping into a conference room or a boardroom or something with like, and like, I try to bring a certain energy to any meeting that I get into, not even by design, but it's just like, I'm usually like pretty pumped up in the mornings and just excited about my day. There is nothing worse than shaking someone's hand, saying what's up and like asking how everything's going. They're like, grinding it out. You know, I'm grinding it out. And like, it really, that really, really bums me out. So I'm just trying to like design days where there's no part of me that feels like I'm grinding it out. I'm like, okay, so I go off gut instinct on that. It's like, how do I feel about the flow of my day? Are these things that give me good energy, bad energy? Am I spending time with people that give me good energy, bad energy? Like, how can I think about cultivating that such that I can stack together as many awesome days as humanly possible? And I don't think that I do that at the cost of like, of doing something professionally that I don't enjoy doing. Like you have to love what you're doing. If you don't, you kind of can't fake that passion. Like there has to be an authenticity to what you're doing every day. If you're not kind of like kicking the sheets off your bed and you are grinding it out, like, do you want to do that for like 3-4 decades? So it doesn't feel sustainable to me. So right now I'm just solving for like, what can I do that I actually enjoy doing every day? What am I like? There was a little bit for me professionally, square peg in a round hole, where I was trying to be good at things that I wasn't that good at. And like, then I just got really real with myself at, okay, here's what I'm good at. Here's what I'm not. Here's how I can add value to my organization. Like, let's just double, triple, quadruple down on the things that I'm good at. And then it was like this massive unlock where I was like, oh my God, when I do that, I'm so much happier, professionally speaking. When I don't go to like the traditional quote unquote steak dinners at 7 p.m. like, and instead I go to St. Regis Hotel for a breakfast 2 days a week, whatever, I'm so much happier. Like, hey, let's say Vinny is a guy that I do business with. Hey, like, instead of dinner, you want to run Central Park like Wednesday morning at like 6 a.m. and then we'll get a cup of coffee after? Yeah, done. Like, so I've stacked a bunch of those types of small wins up. And all of a sudden now I'm in a place where like my days are just like I love my days, and I say all that just because I encourage people to get to a place where, they're not grinding it out. Like, they're in a place where they're happy, and it doesn't happen overnight. Like, obviously it takes time to define what that's supposed to look like for everyone, but it's something that I think a lot about, because especially in my business, like the guy, I'm making all of this up, but like the guy or gal who says who walks into the conference room with a cup of coffee and says they're grinding it out, like, in most cases, whoever that person is, they're probably making a ton of money in the case of like the person that I was talking to.
Sure.
And it's like, you're not grinding it out, dude. Like you have you have an amazing opportunity set to provide in a really meaningful fashion for your family. Like, live with more passion around that, and so that's something that I think about. And if you feel like you're grinding out, then just like, you need to start playing with your week and figure out a way where you're excited, by the things that you're doing every day and the people that you're meeting with. And I've spent a lot of time really focused on that these last few years, because like, as you and I sit here and approach 40, like, I don't want to grind shit out. Yeah. And by the way, that doesn't mean I don't want to work hard. Like, there's a difference. I want to work so hard.
Yep.
But
I want it to be flow based.
Yeah. I want to feel so good about that work.
Yeah.
And on the days where I feel like most productive, it's like a very powerful, like you just want to kind of keep going. How can I stay on this plane?
Yeah. It's finding a flow based approach to things. And I love those people, because in my world, there's living the dream.
Right.
And my response always is, as long as it's yours. And they're always like, well, no. I'm like, you better figure it out then. Yeah. And even if you're not doing necessarily what you love to do or what you want to be doing, and you don't need to necessarily find an exit strategy, but just find the things around you that allow you to feel more alive. Because then if you feel more alive, then you're going to approach the thing that maybe you don't want to be doing every day. You're going to approach it in a healthier way. And then it's going to open up more things that are going to open up down the line. But if you're always in this grinding it out mindset, then guess what? You're always going to be grinding it out. And to your point, I don't want to live in a every day of my life for the next X amount of years grinding it out. That's exhausting. I want to just kind of flow, and not, again, doesn't mean I don't want to work hard, but I just want to show up in the world in a different, more harmonious way that feels just healthier. Yeah. It just feels more alive. Like, I don't do the steak dinners or breakfast meetings, but it's showing up in the world in a certain way that's more in alignment with how you want to be and how you want to interact, and putting your priorities in place. And also, to what you're saying, like, being patient with that, because it doesn't turn over overnight. Like, it's not just a switch that you could turn on. If you're not happy with what you're doing, take the proper steps towards doing something that you enjoy doing. And it goes back to the point that you mentioned earlier, exploring a lot of different things, like be okay playing. Like we lose that as adults, right? We stop playing. And that's that old expression, right? You don't get old because you stop playing. You stop playing because or you don't stop playing because you get old. You stop. Yeah. Totally. And I remember, like, I bought a ukulele at one point. My wife was like, why? I was like, I don't know. Yeah. Because maybe I'm really good at the ukulele. Yeah. I'm not. Right? We're about to find out. Is Vinny a ukulele player? He's not. Right. But at the end of the time, it's like, we're given this gift of mind and speech and the world. And so often we just offset it to making more money or grinding it out or whatever term we want to use. Yeah. And we have an opportunity to play, right? To tap into like this next phase of my life. I want to tap into the magic of life. Like that's my thing right now. Like I'm all about like the magic and the wonder of life. Like it's fucking real. Yeah. It's real. And once you tap into it, it's like, oh, I don't want to stop feeling like this.
Yeah.
It's a high. It's the best high you'll ever experience.
100%.
It's and you can live and operate and show up in the world and give back to your community and your family with that mindset and with that approach. And it's healthier.
Yeah, totally. And I think if someone was like sitting that was listening to this, if someone is sitting in a certain role or career or whatever that is really struggling to find that inside of their career, it's okay to find that outside of your career. But I think that you just hit the nail on the head, which is if you find it outside of your career, it kind of if you find like a really, really powerful why, it actually fuels your professional drive, so like going 2 for 2 in that bucket in terms of like absolutely loving what you do professionally and excelling and being able to monetize that, like amazing.
Home run.
Yeah, home run.
Home
right?
run. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Right.
That's the goal. If you are not able to thread that, and again, like I'm working really hard to try to thread that needle, and this just becomes a single train track where we're rolling, and like it's every day is on autopilot, to steal your term. If it's not, for someone listening in terms of actionable takeaways, then finding your why is really, really powerful piece of being able to kind of buy in and leverage your day to day. Like I think that when people get real with that piece of it, it helps them kind of get rid of this antiquated, grinded out thought process and like, okay, this is my role and this is my why, and this is how the two of them can kind of speak together. And I think that that's an important piece of the puzzle, because I think when people are in maybe a traditional, career path or whatever, they look at them as two totally separate things. And I think that the understanding of like these two things correlating, to one another as part of a happier life, with more personal and professional fulfillment is an important and powerful realization.
How would you recommend people find their why?
I think, it's time. Like, I think people finding kind of like a creative calling or a creative outlet, is a really important piece of the puzzle. I think like this podcast for you is probably like a perfect example.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Right. Oh, that's
it certainly is. Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah,
so like,
absolutely.
People need to go find their podcast.
More so than any other endeavor that I do.
Yeah.
This would definitely be it.
Yeah.
No question.
Like this is like even when I walked into the shed, I'm like, oh, this is dope. Like he cares a lot about this. Right? Yeah. So that's cool. Like people finding people going to find their podcast, whatever that might be. Like even on this isn't a direct correlation to your question, but like even on my little like fake, fitness influencer page on Instagram, like my whole crux of why I set it up was just to be on the creating side and away from the consuming side.
Right.
Like I was like, I want to I feel like I can attempt to make a positive impact, even if it's in one person's. I don't care about like the number of followers. I care about positive impact, right? And like actually being able to help people and drive positive change. And so I was like, well, I can't do that by consuming, but I can probably do that by creating. And also some of the creating is fun. Like some of the storytelling is fun. Like our day to day is insane. Like I should put some of that out there.
Yeah.
And so, little creative outlets like that just feel. And by the way, like even me starting that account, like you and I aren't having this conversation without that account. 100%. I'm not going to a lot of the events that I go to. I'm not speaking with or hanging with a lot of people that I hang with. Like that has actually like made for these last like year and a half, 2 years has made for these amazing relationships. I've built rapport with people like I literally didn't know before.
Right.
And it's like-minded, community driven type relationships. So I think that stuff is all powerful. And like the more of those types of things that I buy into, the more the more professional success, quote unquote, that I've actually had. Cause I'm like literally happier.
Yeah. I'm
like a happier person, So I'm like, all these things, like they all kind of speak the same language.
Yeah, there's a common, Carl Jung talks about the golden thread, right? The golden shadow, and it's something that I've experienced in doing the work I do with the men's group I facilitate.
Yeah.
And there is this the golden thread, right? There's this thread within you that if you tap into it, you're being guided the right way. It's like this internal compass that we're all born with. It's there. It's real. That's the magic I'm talking about. And when you're able to kind of tap into it, it's this really weird balance of like allowing it to just run its course and kind of not fit that square peg in the round hole, right?
Yeah.
Not forcing the thing to happen, but having, you want to call it faith, whatever you want to call it, allowing that to play out and almost let go of all of it and just let things unfold as they're going to.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've been becoming more and more aware of. I've felt it actually physically, but now I'm becoming more and more aware of it. And the more and more aware of it, the more and more I see it. Then I'm like, oh no, I'm not allowing it to flow. I'm trying to do the thing.
Yeah.
Relax, step back a little bit, take a deep breath, and goes to your point of like finding the why. It is about just playing and experiencing and letting things just be what they are, and not putting a result to it. Right. Not putting this big heavy load to it, and just letting it be what it is.
I put more like I go off of gut instinct more now than ever before in my life.
But you have to harness that. Like you have to practice that, right? Like you have to like find that. That doesn't just, it's weird because you don't have to find it, right? You really don't. You just have to allow yourself to listen to it. Because when you feel it, like, oh no, it's right. And then you're like, you talk yourself out of it. So you really don't have to find it. You just have to harness it.
That's a really good way of putting it, actually. That's exactly right. I think it's like, it's understanding how you want to feel. Like I always think about how can I feel a certain way the highest percentage of the time. Like sometimes that's the way I actually like quantify it. And that's usually, and I take stock of that during the days. Like I'm really hyper aware of that during the week, especially. Like, how do I feel in the mornings versus how do I feel in the afternoons? Is any of that based on stuff that I have on my calendar? How much of this stuff has more of a have to versus a get to vibe to it? You know what I mean? And so like, I feel like there was like in the last bunch of years on social, it's almost like you either break out of your career path and go like chase your dreams or not. It was like this binary outcome. Right. And I was like, for me, it was like, I never, like I work at a small firm. There's 40 professionals at the firm I work at, whatever. So it's almost like a little bit of an entrepreneur inside of a large organization type vibe to me, as opposed to me being like one of 1,000 on a massive trading floor where, it's a different, is more institutionalized approach. I guess. And so I've always like kind of thought like, how can you crack the code on staying true to this quote unquote traditional career path, but like bobbing and weaving your way into a place where you're so happy inside of that, Monday through Friday, that it doesn't have any of the like, oh, got to get on this train. Like I've worked really hard to get to a place where I'm doing things inside of our organization that I enjoy doing so much with people that I genuinely enjoy like interacting with and doing business with, that I'm just trying my best to remove a piece of the equation where I'm like, oh, I really don't like this piece of it. And that may sound like wishful thinking or like I'm being too picky, but it's not. It's like a refining process. And like, I'm not fully there yet, but I'm just getting to a place where I've like gotten real with myself on things that I'm good at, things that I'm not, people that I want to interact with, people that I don't, meetings that do make sense, meetings that make zero sense. Like, how embarrassing it is to think about like how many dinners, I mean, not embarrassing, but like I went out to dinners for like a decade plus, like with, there were a lot of those dinners where there was zero takeaways, zero, outside of just like maintaining a firm to firm relationship. By the way, there was a lot of them with tons of takeaways where I was building trust, building rapport, building like social currency, if you will, inside of the business. But there were a lot of them that like literally could have been a 15 or 20 minute coffee. So I've just gotten like really protective around my calendar and my time
and your energy
and my energy. Yeah. And I don't say that in like a prima donna way. I say it in like I just like I want to do a bunch of like shit that I really want to do. And I want to feel awesome. The highest percentage of the time. So what are the things that allow me to feel like that? And I've gotten just like very honest with myself on what that feedback looks like.
Well, that's the big part of it is getting really honest with yourself, and you could find different avenues to approach that, right? For me, it's like meditation and sensory deprivation, like really getting silent, really getting still, really sitting in that space. And it can be uncomfortable sometimes to get real with yourself. If you're building this career and you're focused on this goal financially, whatever it is, and all of a sudden you have this voice in your head that's saying, nah, it's like, it's like Newman in Jurassic Park. And you're like, fuck, how do I navigate this now? Like, this goes against everything that I've been telling myself and everything I've been trying to experience. And now you have to kind of, corrective course that and make it look and feel like a different thing. So it's important to have those real, honest, radical conversations with yourself and get real. And it doesn't mean that the outcome has to be any different. It just changes your relationship with the thing. And now you can navigate that thing in a whole different way, in a healthier way, right? In a more mindful way, and allow it to, again, have a little bit of faith in it let whatever it is guide you,
Mhm.
and let it play out that, the best that it can. And to some point you have to kind of just let go to things and let it play out.
Totally. And I think it's like, this is something I've thought more about in recent years, where it's like, I've heard too many stories, and whether they're personal or online anecdotes, around people like climbing to this, on top of this like proverbial mountain, and like not thinking the view is that sweet.
Yeah.
And so, especially in the business that I'm in, where like people are like, there is a certain amount of focus around like monetizing the role or comp or whatever. So I've like, to me, it's a less interesting piece of the analysis, just because now it's like, once you've achieved a certain level of success, from a financial perspective, my sense is that like the fulfillment.
It goes back to the guy that says he's grinding and he's making a ton of money.
Right.
It's like and another part of that is, and to bring it back to the parent thing real quick.
Yeah.
People always say, "Oh, enjoy it now. It goes by really fast."
Yeah.
And I really started listening to that, and I was like, no one's ever said it doesn't. Like, no one's ever said, this shit is forever.
Yeah.
Everyone says enjoy now, it goes by fast. So that brings me back to it's like a grounding moment. I go, I better enjoy this shit now.
Yeah.
Like I better be really fucking present now.
Yeah.
And I'm not always great at it,
Yeah.
There's times I could definitely be way more present, but and then you have your daughter say, you're gonna miss this. It's those checks against the boards, because I know your kids are hockey guys.
Oh yeah.
It's those checks that you like, they shake you out of the cobweb of your own bullshit.
Yeah.
It's knowing that, you may get to a certain amount in the bank account, but are you going to be happy?
Yeah, exactly.
You may, parenting may be really rough because a kid put an elbow through a window, and mom came down. We're all panicked and frozen, or this one's biting that one and they're fighting, but you're going to miss it one day.
Yeah.
It's going to go by really fast.
Yeah.
So you better enjoy it for whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
And you're right. There's too many anecdotes that say that.
Yeah.
And to ignore that would be like to ignore, someone telling you, hey, there's a cop on the side of the road.
Yeah.
You better be careful.
Yeah. Totally.
You'd be ignoring a very clear fate that doesn't lead itself to a happy life.
Yeah. It's journey. I mean, it's if you and I were to punchline that, it's journey over destination. Like, that's why like people like you and I are trying so hard to fill up our days with shit that lights us up, because I'm so much more married to the journey than I am to the destination. Like I've had a little, like anytime I've had a hint of, like obviously it's a highly cyclical business that I'm in or whatever, but like when I've had these hints of success, it's like, I like really, it like fires me up and I'm pumped about it for like 12 hours.
If that.
Yeah. It's like, I'm kind of like, all right, like what does tomorrow morning look like? So it's like, if that's the feedback loop for me, then I'm like, I better really enjoy like what the day-to-day looks like. So that's why I'm just so focused on, when I say journey, it's like, it's the minutia. It's like when you're inside,
it's crying on the gondola.
Yeah, it's crying on the gondola, man. Like,
did you feel that way when you finished 29.029? Like, was it like 2 days later, like, all right, that's fucked, isn't it? Like, I felt that. I have felt that before. Like, I know that feeling of like accomplishing a goal or getting a thing. Yeah. Right. And so much of it, like in this culture, so much more about getting a thing than accomplishing a goal. Right. Yeah. Getting a thing that makes you feel like, oh, it's going to make me feel a certain way. Yeah. And then you get it, and you're kind of like, yeah, right, whatever. Like, fuck it, whatever. But and again, accomplishments definitely breed a different type of trajectory, right? When you accomplish something like 29.029, or you get a gold medal in jiu-jitsu tournament, like it's a different type of trajectory than getting a new car, right? Yeah. It's a definitely different feedback loop and reward system. But it is weird that you get to this point, you accomplish the thing that you've been prepping for, whether it be pain to pain or whatever it is, and all of a sudden you're like, all right.
Yeah. So my So my translation on the which is exactly right, is like with 29.029, there's always that epic, like the 12 hours after, you're walking on clouds. Yeah, it's amazing. Right, it's like a post-marathon, like the day after the marathon, you're like kind of crippled, but you're also like
buzzing
in such a good spot right now. This is so epic. Versus literally 24 hours later, when it's like the first time in 4 months where you don't have structure till like your morning and shit, and you're like, oh wait, hold on a second, what should I be doing? With 29.029 and a lot of similar events like that in the last, like, call it 2 years for me, I honestly, like two or 3 days later, I'm kind of like, my brain has fully shifted into like what's coming next.
Hello, friends. How are you? Just want to take a quick, brief break from the podcast, talk about a piece of gear that I've been rocking nonstop, and that's Wowie shorts. WowieLife.com, the Nomad 2.0s. They are super diverse. They're super comfortable. They've got this unique little stylish trim on the pocket, different on each color. I got them in green. I got them in blue. The black are in the laundry. They come with a lining, so you don't have to waste a pair of underwear, which is huge. I wear them to jiu-jitsu. I wear them on the trail. I wear them to the beach. I wear them out to dinner. They're super diverse. They're super comfortable. They're family owned, which is always awesome. And they just released a new pair of sweatpants called the Ramblers and the Flow, which they are so dope. I can't get enough of them. I wear them all the time. They're pretty much the only pair of shorts I'm rocking these days. And for listeners of this podcast, you can get 15% off of your entire purchase with the promo code VBShow. So head on over to WowieLife.com, grab yourself a pair of the Nomad 2.0s. Those are my personal favorite, and you will not regret it. Check them out, WowieLife.com. Now back to the show.
Prep into a lot of those types of events is such a good exercise for me. And I don't mean that literally. I mean like the exercise of putting together a 3 or 4 or 5 month training block and some of the structure around that in these different like modalities of fitness provide me with like a lot of, confidence physically, but also mentally to just go out and execute. Like it's like going back to the big picture from before, like fitness has become this catalyst in all these other walks of my life. And those other walks I would argue are like big picture are more important than the actual fitness themselves, but that's what makes the fitness so important.
Yeah.
Like, so when I think about wrapping some of these things up, it's like enjoy the shit out of that feeling. Like when I got to the top, just to like finish what you were saying, your sentence before, when I got to the top of the mountain, they give you the red hat, and like that night, 41% of the people are wearing the red hat. You're like, this is sick. Like, I'm so pumped that I got this done. And like, what an amazing, like this is such a cool event and meet all these great people or whatever. And like 2 days later, you're kind of looking at the red hat and you're like, it's a red hat. It's like, it's like, which by the way, like Mark, one of the co-founders at 29 if he ever listened to this, like, I don't actually mean that. Mark is the man. And I did a couple hikes with him, and like the power of the red hat is just that. It's powerful. Of
course.
My point is,
I get it.
When I get home and I put it back when I put it in my home office, it's kind of like, what's my next red hat, so to speak?
Yeah.
And how can we go about chasing that down?
Yeah.
So.
And creating a healthy relationship with that next red hat, right? Because it can go into an ungrateful state, right? That's very easy to like become ungrateful or to be selfish, or it's just you have aspirations, right? And that's a good thing, but it's how you alchemize that and how you actually play that out in the real world, which is what makes all the difference, right? And it's no different. Like I got the gold medal at jiu-jitsu tournament. I was fucking stoked that night. I woke up at 2 a.m. I literally had so much energy. I went and ran, did my whole routine, and then went back to bed at like 4 o'clock because I was like so jazzed up. I couldn't even get it. Like the energy was pumping through me.
That's awesome.
But now it's just a medal that's sitting in my room. Like it's in a drawer, like or it's actually hanging from my TV. But it's like, okay, what's the next thing?
Exactly.
And it's again creating that relationship with the journey towards that next thing, but being grateful for that next thing when you're in that next thing. And it goes to that point of like that buildup is that sandbox that we create for our kids, right? It's like this perfect parallel that this sandbox that we're creating is just like this regimented structure that we need in our own day-to-day to make ourselves feel better. Yeah. And it's a really cool thing when you're able to tap into that and follow it. Yeah. And there are these different chapters in life. Like there's going to be like, there are certain years where it's going to be obvious to you and I what events to sign up for, what time of year, like, does this make sense? Does this not make sense? So like, as I think about it's actually a perfect time of year to make this comment. Like when we're in this time of year and into January, you can start to map out the following year in understanding like what big events can I get done that makes sense relative to like the flow of our family life and stuff. But I think having those things on the calendar and not stumbling into them, like be really thoughtful around getting those things on the calendar. Like I signed up for New York City Marathon like on the Monday after the marathon this year, just because I was like, I want to run the marathon again. I've run it in the past. I want to run it again. And like, I can either chew on that for the next like 6 months and then like formalize it in April or May, where I may or may not be able to get a spot or whatever, or I can like go pen to paper on this thing right now and, get a spot with Team for Kids and raise some money and go out there and hammer New York City next year. And I did it that day. And like,
it was funny because when I signed up, I was wondering the next few days if I was gonna be like, oh, was that like a little like too quick? but no, I mean, it's like,
too impulsive.
so maybe just the 2 or 3 of those things a year, and like, again, now I'm thinking about New York City Marathon, like the day of, awesome, fruits of your labor. What I'm really thinking about is like hammering like a 22-mile run in August, when it's really hot out, like. And I actually can't wait for that. Like it's a journey, dude.
Yeah.
I can't, those pieces of building the puzzle, by the way, I hate actual puzzles, but the journey of building, what will be the outcome of, like, in this case, like getting to Staten Island, being ready to go. Like if you get to that start line, you're in good health, you're ready to roll, then like
you've already done it.
Then your last 4 or 5 months were probably awesome.
Yeah. And so many people don't even show up for that moment. Right. And that moment is the moment, right? The moment that you go, sign up, right? Like for me, I really don't plan them. I kind of just stumble into them. Maybe pain's the one that I'm kind of like, all right, I'm going to do that next year.
Yeah.
But even with the tournament, it was kind of just like I just felt inclined to do it.
Sure.
And I was like, there's something here that I'm not, that I'm hearing, but I'm not listening.
Yeah.
And I need to listen. And I didn't. And that was the result. But I agree, like finding that journey and stepping into that. And I think planning it would actually be probably a better approach for me than just kind of stumbling into it.
Yeah.
Cause it does, like that week before, I was like watching everything I ate. I was watching the weight, getting in the sauna twice a day, like really grinding it out.
Totally.
And, I'll say like, oh God, I don't want to go in the plunger. Oh, I don't want to do this. And my wife brings up, she's like, you like to, like, and that's okay. Like there's a grit to waking up.
Yeah.
And whether it be for social media, whatever it is, there's something in us. There's a grit there that's valuable.
Oh yeah.
That like, there's a grit there that you kind of like. You kind of like when you're in the fucking cold and when you move your hand, it hurts. You're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
But there's something to it that, especially as guys, I think, and not to generalize, we need that.
Oh yeah.
We need to carve that fucking grit.
Yeah. No, it's a very powerful feedback loop. I mean, I think about that all the time. The ice, like this is the time of year you jump in the ice in you
don't need ice in that ice bath.
No. Yeah. You jump in the water. Let's go water.
Yeah. Right.
You jump in the water. Like it's like when I initially got into quote unquote deliberate cold exposure, it was purely for physical benefit.
Right.
And now I'm like exclusively going in because I know how awesome I'm going to feel after.
Yeah.
And so I'm chasing those X number of minutes per week because I know it gives me a competitive advantage, like versus myself, by the way. But like, I think that like when you are walking towards the water and you're like, oh my God, this is going to suck. It's like my brain now switches to like, hell yeah, let's get this done. Like that's become a really good switch for me where it's like, I don't want to do this. Go get it done. It goes back to our conversation from X number of minutes ago, where it's like, there's a fine line between understanding like when to pull back a little bit. But like in most cases, and I'll just say like 9 out of 10 cases, if you are walking to that water, or if you are walking to your CrossFit at 5 a.m., or if I'm walking, into Midtown to go bang 10 miles or something, if you're like, fuck, this is going to suck, like go do it.
Yeah.
Because the other side of that suck is like this massive unlock. And I know that sounds like a generalization, but it is. And it's an unlock in all these different walks, man. It's like, it's shit matters a lot.
It's awesome. Yeah. My plunges were outside my garage and I have a sauna inside, and I'll work out, I'll hit the sauna, and then I'll have to go hit the garage door. And it's just like clink, 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 clink.
Yeah.
And I'm walking to it. I could feel the cold coming in the garage. And it's just like clink, 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 clink. I'm just like, mother. Fuck.
You got like 11 seconds.
Yeah, I'm like, you don't do this. Just go inside. Yeah. The first time I did the plunge was guided with a buddy of mine. He's a Wim Hof certified instructor.
Sure.
He's a New York City firefighter, and he facilitates cold plunges.
Awesome.
And he was on Survivor, Danny Massa, and he guided me through the whole thing. We did the whole dragon's breath, the whole thing. And when I was in there, it's really it's this relationship with like your mind, and it becomes either, wow, I want to get the fuck out, this is really cold, or it becomes stillness. Like it's this forced meditation, right? There you have to like fight through this, like get out, it's freezing, this is cold, this sucks, how much time do I have left, all this, oh God, it's free. And you have to fight through that. And all of a sudden, like when you let go of it, there's this peace, and you're just like, all right, here I am.
Yeah. And
you're forced to be present. And that's what I go after.
Yeah.
That's the chase.
See how that affects the rest of your day.
Oh yeah. Even getting out, I'm like, oh, this is, it wasn't as great as, but it's that I chase after. It's that that fluidity of my mind where
Yeah.
I'm at peace.
Yes.
And it's not easy to get to, but you know, with all the modalities we have now, it's and if you get to do it, it's a blessing. You know, thinking is a rich man's problem, and we're rich in many ways.
Amen.
I know you have to get to 75 hockey games. So if people want to get inspired by you, if people want to connect with you, where can they do that?
Yeah. So socials is your best bet. So it's just I run I work I dad. I started the account in like peak COVID world. At the time I was training for a half Ironman and New York City Marathon, obviously both of which ended up being canceled. And I just started puking a bunch of my programming on there. And then I started puking like interesting articles, and then I started puking like a podcast I listened to or whatever. And anyway, so I've just like over the years I've put a lot of stuff on there that is like mostly, you know, kind of day-to-day type stuff. And I've been fortunate enough to interact with a lot of really awesome people like yourself. So best bet is to hit me up on there. I love to jam, you know, with folks on there. And yeah, that's probably the best place to find me.
Awesome. And I think another part of it is community, right? Finding like-minded individuals and finding people that make you feel dumb, right?
Yeah,
I love being the dumbest person in the room. I'm looking around like, I don't know anything that's going on or reading things that are just way beyond my comprehension. Like I'm reading the Bible right now, and I'm reading in like old King James version. Yeah. And it's like, I have to literally read it like one line twice. I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? Because it just challenges my brain in a different way. It's wild.
That's how I feel. Honestly, that's how I feel at work.
Yeah.
And that's why I ask so many questions. But like now I kind of proudly wear the badge of like the no dumb questions guy. I'm like, I'm going to pepper you guys with questions, but like, this is helpful to me. And like, if it's helpful to me, hopefully it will be helpful and additive to all of us as a firm.
And it always is.
Yeah. So that's, you know, like you work really hard and you're kind to other people and you ask lots of questions and like you have some fun. Like life's pretty good, dude. If you do all those things.
I agree. Dude, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to get it in
man.
This odd hour, but I always wanted to do morning radio. So I guess this is equivalent to that. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. This is awesome.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Later, brother.